On this episode of The Special Sauce, we are joined by Hannah Stock, Senior Recruiter for Marketing and Digital at 6 Degrees Executive. Hannah began her recruitment career in the UK before moving to Australia just after the pandemic in 2021. She spent a couple of years with a large global before joining 6 Degrees at the start of 2024. In the last few years, Hannah has achieved impressive results at 6 Degrees, recruiting in a market where many other agencies and individual consultants have really struggled. In today's episode, we will explore what is the special sauce that enables Hannah to achieve those results, the differences between the UK and Australian recruitment markets and the challenges each presents, and the contrast between working at a large global agency and a boutique firm in Australia. Hannah Stock, welcome to the Special Sauce.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you on.
Be here.
Known you for a few years now, and I think, a conversation I guess we had a couple of weeks ago thought, or made me think anyway, we really need to get you on. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much. That was a very nice intro there.
I do try.
Well done, Leroy.
Thank you. Got that one.
You did
Only
well.
one little error, but we edited it out.
Did well.
But mate, as I kind of touched on in my intro there, a bit to cover off today. I guess just firstly, recruiting across the marketing space, how are the recruitment gods treating you at the moment?
It's busy, I think in the world of AI, everyone was kind of thinking marketing and comms would be under fire, and it absolutely has been in a lot of businesses. But the last 6 months for us has been great at 6 Degrees for our marketing team. There's 12 of us in the team, and yeah, pipeline's looking good as well. So happy days.
Well, like you're right. And I think, we've both come from backgrounds recruiting across sales and marketing. And, we certainly keep track of, different sectors out there, how it's doing. And Chris, I'm sure you'd agree, but I think, what we've seen over the last 12 to 18 months is marketing recruitment teams in particular really shrink, or a lot of recruiters or agencies pull out of that market. You guys are growing and doing really, really well. So what is it specifically in the marketing space you reckon that's driving the growth for more work and more roles?
I think for us, as I mentioned, we have such a big team and we've got such long tenure in market at 6 Degrees, and that spans across all of the specialisms that we operate in. But, I think in our team, there's maybe 50 plus years of experience in marketing in Melbourne, if you combine everyone together. My two managers that I work with the most are both in market over 30 years, both of them in Melbourne. So I think it's a lot of that. And we can obviously dive into it a bit more, but the relationships and just how naturally they connect with people just brings in work. And
Are there particular role types within marketing that you're seeing that are more prominent or prevalent than others?
Yeah, I would say we've definitely seen a trend recently of businesses wanting to bring in-house a lot of the digital capability, so performance roles and things like that, taking it away from marketing agency, and also creative roles as well. So lots of businesses wanting to bring in-house, videographers, editorial people, social media people. I think social media as well is, the first point of contact that a lot of people have with a business, and it's so important. I think people are kind of waking up to that a little bit. So interestingly, those two domains have been really busy for us, digital and creative. Yeah.
And the industries or sectors where you do most of your work, what space is that?
So I'm predominantly B2B and services, so professional services, financial services, and then tech, and then I do some industrial bits and bobs as well.
Yeah, got you. So I guess the first part of what I wanted to cover today was, I guess, really your journey and how you came to Australia. And part of the reason I wanted to talk about this is so many of the recruiters we speak to are currently overseas looking to come out to Australia. And as you probably know, a massive portion of the Australian recruitment industry are expats from UK,
massive
Ireland.
portion, more like 98% of it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
As born and raised Aussies, we are minority in the sector.
Well, not at 6 Degrees.
Well,
This
maybe
is the
not at
funny
6,
thing. Yeah,
maybe
it's
not at
funny.
6 Degrees, but I probably mentioned it on here a few times. When we were at Randstad in the in their office in Melbourne pre-COVID, I think there was probably about 120 recruiters there. And how many do you reckon were Aussies out of the 120, 100 odd?
I reckon it was probably a 60-40 split, 70-30 even.
Yeah, I reckon
in terms
70-30
of, in terms
expats.
of expats being sponsored on visas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the same at Hayes.
Yeah.
Like all of my friendship group really is like expats that are all recruiters.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the same in Sydney, right?
Yeah.
I think Sydney, we've spoken about that before. Sydney have a massive expat market, but that was something that I found really interesting coming to 6 Degrees as well. And I think just speaks to the relationship side of things, right? But I guess in terms of my journey, gosh, I think to all the UK recruiters listening, if you've done the UK recruitment market and London in particular, you can survive this market. Like that market is so competitive. It's just intense. Like the population number, is so much bigger than here. And so I think in your specific area in London, you would have over 100 people that you're competing with in just like B2B marketing, for example. Here it's like 6 or 7 that you're competing with, and there's not a lot of crossover, really. Like it's not often that we have really competitive roles. So yeah, I think the journey is much smoother coming over to this market. If you've been able to do that and survived it, then coming here is going to be a breeze. And, and I think in the first 2 years of any business that you go to, you're starting from scratch, right? And so you have to give yourself grace and time to build that back up. But I definitely noticed that it was slower pace.
Yeah.
I was going to say, just in terms of, just on that, the biggest sort of differences between obviously UK and the Australian market, what would you say the top, I guess, a couple of the biggest differences that you've seen?
Yeah, I think it's just the speed and the sheer numbers that you're dealing with in terms of, I mean, I don't want to also sound like I'm a super, recruiter expert from the UK, because I actually only did a year there.
Yeah.
And it was straight out of uni. And I was like, what is going on? My first year.
First corporate job.
Oh my gosh, first corporate job. I was recruiting in investment management. I was like, what's investing, first of all? So that was a whole thing. My boss he would make us stay late and learn about investment management, not even recruitment. So we had to learn about that. And then, I was just kind of in over my head, to be honest.
Could you imagine how that would fly in 2026 in Melbourne, in Australia? Like if a company said you need to stay back and you need to learn your industry.
Literally.
Nah, we used to do that as well. I remember we used to have to stay back, and you stay back to like 7 or 8 o'clock. And I guess it was all right then. You were, you didn't have a family, didn't have kids. So you had a bit more sort of flexibility. But I just think about now, like, if I like someone, your boss says, hey, let's stay back till 7, 8 o'clock. We'll get some pizzas.
Yeah.
We'll do it's just like, mate, fuck
we'll get
off.
some pizzas. Always a pizza party.
Yeah, it's just like, see you later.
It's hard enough to get people in the office 4 days a week. So.
Well, it's changed in Germany. Maybe they're leading the light this morning. You can't pull a sickie anymore in Germany.
What do you mean?
You're not allowed to. By law, if you call, you're not allowed to call your boss in the morning and say, hey, boss, I'm sick. I need a day off. You have to have a medical certificate from day one.
I don't know if that's going to fly in Australia. The Great Australian Sickie is part of our culture.
Absolutely.
Especially on a Monday after, weekend.
Classic. But no, I would just say, I think the pace of the UK market is insane. And again, thinking back, like I think I started in 2019. So this is pre-COVID, and the hours as well. It was, 8 till 8. We're staying back and we're doing all those things. So I think it was long hours. It was a lot of work. I mean, it was an intense role for me anyway, just being the first role in the corporate world and in recruitment. And not so much relationship based, very competitive. That's kind of how I would sum it up.
I know it's probably agency specific, but you've obviously got a lot of friends that have come from the UK to the Aussie market as well. Would you say that the UK is perhaps a bit more brutal in terms of, what's expected from a performance perspective, and if you don't perform, the repercussions?
I think, do you mean internally, like in the agency?
Yeah.
Not so much. I mean, the agency that I was in, it was boutique as well. So it would have been more similar to 6 Degrees in that sense. But I think you can't hide in a boutique agency. You've got big targets, and if you don't deliver, that's significant revenue that the company is not getting from you. So, and the overheads, right? You're not protected by all of the other countries and whatever. So yeah, I would say in that sense, it's kind of similar to the boutiques over here. But I think what the clients expect of you. It's transactional, you know, it's volume of CVs, and that was definitely my experience anyway. It might have changed a little bit, and I wasn't recruiting marketing over there either, so that could have been a little bit different. But yeah.
Did you come to Australia thinking, when I get there, I'll do recruitment, or was that more an afterthought?
Do you know what? I remember having a conversation with my mum, and I was like, I've been offered a job at Hayes. She was like, what? I thought you were never going to do recruitment again. Literally, I was like, yeah, do you know what? I really didn't like it. I really didn't like it in London. I did make an oath to myself that I would never do it again. And then I got here, and my boss from London used to speak about Hayes, like the glory days at Hayes. It was the best thing ever. And then when I got the job offer, I was thinking, I can't wait to post that on my LinkedIn and get him to see it. And I was excited. But I think as soon as I met with the people that I was going to be working underneath at Hayes, it was a different feeling. It was, you know, it felt warm. It felt inviting. You know, I knew they were going to support me, and it wasn't an intense feeling that I was getting. And then I was also going into a much bigger company where there was loads of people my age, loads of expats, you know, we were all working holiday visa. It was an interesting time. I think you guys probably experienced it as well, that sort of 2021, 22 recruitment market. There was
the glory years.
Yes,
the
glory, yes.
We were 2 years too late launching Society, weren't we?
Oh,
we would have been retired by 2023.
I know.
Oh, so you were still in big?
Yeah. I was still. I was. Yeah.
I was in boutique.
Yeah, I was in boutique. I was in. I was still at Randstad. So, yeah. I mean, we had good years. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it, but then you think, oh shit, you know, if we started a couple of years earlier, but
but you look at it and you know there were still plenty of businesses or agencies
100%.
that started a bit earlier and got COVID. We hit the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, what did you find when you came to Australia? Obviously, you said you'd never do recruitment again. You end up at Hayes and you start there. What were the biggest challenges for you, kind of getting up and running again? And maybe not so much purely from a work perspective, but even just life and getting things sorted outside of work.
Do you know what I would say? Like, you know, your question, you're framing it in terms of challenge, but it was actually the opposite for me because I think the biggest challenge was London recruitment. I found it so difficult. Came here, COVID hit, like it was such a stressful time. I was with my partner at the time, and we did traveling around Australia, and we did loads of farm work, and then we got to Melbourne. So we'd kind of got out of us all of the hard yarns of like being in Australia, I guess. And then we got back to Melbourne, started with Hayes. And as I said, as soon as I met with them, they made me feel really comfortable and supported. And a lot of people, you've probably heard this as well, a lot of people say that those big agencies are like the training wheels. So you knew instantly that you were stepping into a program of, I think it's like 3 months maybe, that they put you in an intense training program of what is recruitment essentially. And how to do a BD call, like what are the differences between a candidate and a client. And it's really just, you know, day one, week one stuff. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was so much of a challenge, to be honest. And I think that anyone that's listening that is thinking about coming over from the UK, absolutely go for it, because it will take a little bit of time to get you up and running. And of course, there are really long-term relationships here in Australia that you're having to, you know, weave your way into. But I would say that joining a large agency as you're stepping off the plane is a good place to start because they do have the big contracts, you know, they've got the government contracts, they've got the big defense contracts, and, you know at least that sort of work is coming in. And maybe it's not super commercial work because they have to agree often to really low fees and PSAs and whatnot. So, but it will help you get into this market. And then I think once you're here, you then start to invest in all of your candidate relationships and your, specialist knowledge. If you're recruiting the same industry that you were doing in the UK, then great. But if not, it kind of gives you that time, I think. And again, I can only speak about my time when I was there, and there did seem like they were giving a bit more grace.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've just been through a massive transformation globally and sold some businesses and things. So it might be a bit different now. But I definitely felt like, if there was a few months where I wasn't billing back then, it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Then obviously moving to a boutique business here in Australia. Take us through, I guess, what were the advantages,
Yeah.
the challenges, however you want to frame it, and just the main differences that you found.
Yeah. Well, thanks to Lee.
Yeah.
For giving me that opportunity.
Well done,
so that was great.
It's probably the only placement I made that year.
Yeah. I was at a point in my career, so I think I'd now at this point maybe 3.5 years in recruitment. Had was fortunate enough to get a couple of promotions at Hayes, which was fantastic. But I'd been given a manager title and was like, I have so much more to learn. I just remember thinking that all the time. Who's teaching me here? Looking around. And unfortunately, I think we've spoken about this before as well. Unfortunately, at the big agencies, there's a big gap between the top and the bottom. And a lot of people come off the tools and are very excited to come off the tools. And therefore, they're not involved in commercial conversations. I don't think I saw much really strategic thinking happening when it came to planning who we're going after. It was more so internally, what are the teams doing? I keep hitting this. What are the teams doing? How can we make everyone operate better together, but not necessarily thinking outwardly? So it got to a point where I was just like, I need to get some stronger leadership, I think, ultimately. And then, interviewed at a couple of places. As soon as I met my current manager, I just knew.
Yeah.
I knew I'd set out a couple of things for myself. I was saying I needed to be underneath a high performer, 1 million%. I wanted stronger leadership in the business, more holistically, not just the manager. I wanted to be closer to the founders and things like that. I thought that, 6 Degrees have a very impressive business, and I was excited to actually learn from the founders. And so, I think stepping in there and, being underneath my manager now was probably the biggest change. I've forgotten what the question was.
No, that's okay. Moving into boutique, what do you think are the main differences? Not so much about, leaders or the people, but in terms of the inner workings, perhaps the client focus, compared to big agency, what were the biggest and I know you'd worked in boutique previously, but different kind of scenario. What were the biggest differences?
The biggest differences I would say is, I think just I know I keep saying it, but the strategic element of who are we going after and why, being able to connect the dots. You meet with someone, okay, you're internalizing exactly what they do, and then you're thinking about who else you spoke to that could use that skill set. So I would just say that, it's connecting the dot. They operate on a much smarter level, should we say? It feels like that. And I think it was the same in London at the boutique agency. It was thinking a bit deeper. Okay, what do we know? Who's doing what transformation? What people do we have that are relevant to that? And just being much more strategic about it, rather than, oh, we've got this PSA, just, flog a couple of CVs over and see what sticks at 12% kind of thing. It's not that. It just feels much more natural recruiting at at the boutique level.
Yeah. What about from a visibility point of view? You touched on earlier, some of the larger businesses, and we've worked for them as well, right? Where you can hide to a degree, right? Behind, if you have a shit quarter or, shit 6 months, whatever it is, you can sort of hide to a degree. Is that different in a boutique in your experience, in terms of not so much the pressure and you have to build this, but is it just much more outcome focused and you're more, what's the word I'm looking for? You've just got more responsibility for delivering a number?
Yeah, you can't hide. You definitely can't. The office is smaller for one, so you literally can't hide physically. But I think that I'm in a very high performing team as well in the marketing team at 6 Degrees. We do have much higher standards, I would say, across the business, and not exactly sure why that is, but we operate at a much higher level, and that seems to be both output focused in terms of the number of people that we're speaking to, the number of meetings, client meetings that we go on, the amount of BD that we're doing. So
Was it daunting when you first sort of went there, being in a room full of, call it big dogs, right? High performers, long history of delivering, great results.
Yeah.
Were you a bit, oh shit, I'm in it now?
A little bit. I think I have always lived by the philosophy of surround yourself by people that you want to be like.
Yeah.
So I knew at first it was going to be a big shift, because I was like, oh, there's a couple of $1 million billers around me. And I was excited though, more than anything. But as I say, I knew from the moment I met my manager that she was going to whip me into shape.
Yeah.
And I was ready to be humbled. And that is a bit of advice that I would give to anyone as well. If you are joining an agency, be ready to be humbled in, I think, more ways than one. For me, it was leave what you know at the door and we will, almost mold you. I was at a perfect level to be moldable at 3-4 years of experience. Leave what you know at the door. We can mold you and sort of take you from there. So I think I was just excited more than anything. It wasn't super scary for me. There was definitely times I think we connected, and there was times where I was having a bit of a wobble, like, oh gosh, what have I done? Because you do feel exposed. But ultimately, when you put yourself in a tricky situation, you grow. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's interesting, right? Like we see so many people, do their first role in, say, one of the bigger agencies, and then want to move to smaller ones. And so often we get a lot of people saying, I don't want as much structure. I want a little bit more autonomy, a bit more freedom, not so much a KPI focus and so forth. And they go to a boutique, and, a lot of boutiques, whilst they don't have that structure, it is very outcome focused. A lot of people either struggle because they don't leave their ego at the door, or all of a sudden they realize, shit, I actually need that structure. And now I've been left to my own devices. I'm really going to struggle. So, like for you, did you notice anything? And look, I know 6 Degrees is probably going to be different to a lot of other agencies, but did you find that you did get a lot more freedom? And was that good for you or bad for you?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Like I think everyone says that we're not KPI focused, and yes, maybe they're not bringing it up in a one-on-one every week. But ultimately, if you're not making the calls and you're not meeting the people and you're not doing the client meetings, then you don't get the outcomes.
Yep.
So, as much as people say, "Oh, we're not a KPI business," you should be a KPI business yourself. And you should run that internal process. Like, I know I need to meet 10 candidates every single week. And if I don't, then, I might not have the pool of people that my clients need when they call me. So I think you need to have that structure, even if they say that you don't. I wouldn't say that I struggled with the freedom because of that, actually. Yeah. I just kept myself to a high standard. And so did my manager, right? She was like, you need to meet 10 people. I was like, right, I'm going to meet 10 people, then I'll meet 12 if I need to. And she wasn't, it's quality over quantity, right? So even if I was making 10 or like meeting 10 people, but my interview notes were just a couple of words, or I wasn't writing any interview notes, for example, or I'm doing a BD call and it's a couple of sentences, she would just be like, where's the quality here? Like, it's just, you're just flushing out the numbers, and it soon becomes visible, right? That you're not actually doing any quality work. Like, at Hayes, they used to say to us, do 30 BD calls in a week. 30. That's a lot. Like, to have 30 meaningful conversations in a week with clients, I think is quite a lot.
You probably have to make 100 calls, right?
Yeah, exactly.
To have 30,
you think about voicemails.
30 good ones.
To have 30 good ones.
Absolutely.
So just on that then, like, I mean, we're talking about, 30 BD calls is a lot. And once again, every agency is really different in terms of, what they set as KPIs and targets. From your perspective, for you personally on your desk, are there any particular metrics or things that, for you are just non-negotiable? I need to do X, Y, or Z, which is going to mean success. Like, what is it for you on your desk?
Yeah, good question. I think it is for me. I'm on a contracting desk as well, which I think is good context. It's, it's volume and it's speed a lot of the time, but, not taking away the quality, of course. But the meeting at least 10 candidates a week, interviewing for like an hour pretty much a week, that's key. When I have roles on as well, I'm doing meetings with the clients as well every single week to stay in touch. So we do whips.
Yep.
That's like if I don't have a couple of whips in my diary every week, then I'm a bit like, what's going on? So must be quiet.
Just for, I guess, for anyone listening, what do you mean by a whip and a client conversation? What's that in your world?
Yeah, so we'll take in a brief, get all the details for the job, and then the next week I'll say to them, or in that brief, I will say to them, let's put in 30 minutes every single week until the job's filled. And that way, and it's a Teams call as well. You're getting FaceTime with them every week. You're building rapport. It's not likely that you're going to speak about the job as well for a whole 30 minutes unless you're doing a sort of shortlist presentation or whatever. You're building rapport. Like it's a rapport building thing, right? So I think that kind of doubles up. For me as well, in a contracting desk, it's, we speak a lot about protecting what you build in terms of your book. So a lot of what I'm doing is post-placement care. So that fills up my diary a lot. And then the other thing, which is very recent, is LinkedIn activity, which is unbelievable for your brand, your personal brand, your network building. Now when I get a role on, I think I'm close to 10,000 connections now. And so now when I get a role on, I can actually just post a LinkedIn tile, which is like a little graphic that we've started doing. And people will come to you, and people drop in my inbox all the time. And that is like something that it's not, you don't see immediate return on doing the LinkedIn post. And some of them obviously it's like a lead balloon,
Yeah.
as you probably know,
Definitely.
Trust me, we know.
but you gotta do it, and it can be super cringe, but it pays in dividends. So I think the LinkedIn activity, the candidate activity, of course, the client activity, but I'm definitely not sitting there doing 30 BD calls in a week. I'm only doing a BD call or sharing a candidate profile, which we call a float, if it's really, really relevant. I know that this business is going through a transformation as per potentially a conversation that one of my team members has had with another business. And I think to myself, I met with someone last week that has that exact skill set. I'll call the client and say, hey, exactly that. So I think it's all of it, really. I think the thing is, what my manager has taught me is that it needs to be quite fluid in order to not feel like a grind. And so what I mean by that is, this is super cringe, but it's almost like a bit of a lifestyle. It's not a 9 to 5. You're calling people, I thought about you on my way home from work. I thought I'd just give you a call and see how that project's going. I actually met someone that I think could be really good. It's just cash. It's like, it's just human. And I think once you start to think about recruitment like that, it becomes less, of a grind.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because it can, I think, it is, the role of a 360 is a tricky one. Like there's so many different things you've got to do. And I think, agencies I've worked at, and even how I've tried to structure my days or, job over time, we have tended to put things in, okay, Mondays I'll do this, Tuesdays I'll do that. And I guess that psychologically becomes the grind.
Then something happens, right? You get that phone call from a client or a candidate, or, hey, come see us, I'm actually around the corner, or whatever it is.
Or you
can ruin your whole day.
You put time in your diary. I'm going to source for this specific role at this time, and then you come across someone that's actually really good for that role. You're not going to call. Do you know what I mean? So I just think, I don't know. There's a bit of an internal joke at the office that like a lot of recruiters are ADHD as well, and it really suits us. Like it really does. You're bouncing your brains, bing, bing, bing.
We all are. We're all a little bit
you're
like that.
a little bit ADHD. So that suits me, and I like it. I like the way that flows. I think as long as I'm getting those things done, a little bit of client activity, the candidate activity has to be the main part. Invest in that.
Yeah,
like the fifth person to say that. In terms of recruiters on this podcast, in terms of, hey, we're all a little bit different. There's something in we're just wired differently, right?
Yeah. I think it's also to do with the role. Like when we spoke to Anton Rowe in the previous episode, we spoke about the role of a 360 recruiter in any other industry would probably be broken down to 4 or 5 separate roles. And I think, I don't know whether you're born with ADHD or what, but if you're not, and then you start doing recruitment, you'd start to pick up a few of the tendencies.
I think. Definitely. Definitely for the faint-hearted, is it?
You have
You're just sitting there in the middle of the night going, oh man, is that person going to accept in the morning? Fuck.
Absolutely.
They're not. I don't know if that happens to you guys, but it happens to me still.
No, 100%.
I still wake up and I go,
things.
I hope they sign. They said they would. They're doing it. Yeah. And then you go, nah, they're probably not.
Mate, my brain's been doing it while you've been speaking.
Yeah.
So
There's something you touched on. You said earlier on in this conversation about, the kind of the information you're putting in the system or the database, and what I've seen over the years, different recruiters place higher levels of, I guess, importance of keeping good records, good data. What's your kind of thoughts or stance on that?
Gosh, data is everything, right? Like, it really is. And God bless AI, because that has been amazing. And do you know what I would actually circle back to? One of the main reasons, and I'm quite passionate about this, one of the main reasons I left that big corporate world is because they put a lot of blocks on AI. And when it first came out, they pretty much just shut it down. It was all blocked. It was all security. You've heard about all of this, right? And I think people are coming around to it now, but 3 years later, and we're, my capability with AI and how much I've learned and how much more I've been able to do as a busy recruiter, is
it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. But it's I genuinely feel like I've been able to like 10x my potential because of the use of AI and the data that it then gives me. And it's just you sort of you can put things out of your mind because you know that that's catching the information. You can engage more in a conversation, your active listening skills, and it's all of that data is going into the system. You don't have to worry about it. Like we've got some new systems now that's helping all of us do that. But I think even before that, I was using my ChatGPT a lot. And, so yeah, I think that is really important. And, it just helps with those small things as well. Like, you call your client, it's their daughter's birthday, and you wrote that down and you can refer back to it. It's like the small, tiny little things like that matter. But yeah, my manager was, to come back to her again, she's always been very, very big on data. And I do think that that's what makes us really successful as a team as well. Yeah. It's all there. If I went on holiday, she'd know everything. If she went on holiday, I'd know everything. It's all there. But yeah, she's never offline anyway. So yeah.
Something that you spoke about with us in the past has been about, I guess, not putting the hard sell on clients and leading with value, which is, I guess, something that we see a lot of good recruiters do. And I think, it's almost like they're doing BD without really doing BD. Tell us a bit more about what that means for you and what kind of value you try to add to your candidates and clients.
That was definitely something that I've learned from my managers at 6 Degrees. You're not selling if you're adding value, and if you truly believe that, then it doesn't feel like you're selling anything. It doesn't feel like business development. It's genuinely just a conversation. So, what was the question again?
How do you? What's the kind of definition of adding value to clients and candidates for you?
Yes. So I think that we understand deeply what the candidate does. I think it all comes back to, again, that hour-long interview and all the information that you get out of the candidate, first of all. And then we're just able to connect the dots. I think, it's not for everyone, but I think in recruitment, if you're going to be really successful, speed and recall, memory about what conversations you've had is actually really important. So once you kind of have all of that banked, it kind of just comes out quite naturally. So I think, when we're speaking to a client, again, if they've mentioned they're going through a big transformation, they're bringing their creative agency in-house, I think, I spoke to Lucy the other day and she mentioned that she did that for X, Y, and Z. And then you just, and you can kind of just, that's the value, it's not, you're not trying to shove a CV down someone. You really are leading with, hey, I thought of you because of X. No worries if not, just, leave a message, send a little email, like nothing too dramatic. It doesn't have to be. Keep it personal. I think at 6 Degrees as well, we've just been through a rebrand that's really human-centered, and everything that we do is deeply human. I know that sounds a bit cringe, but I think it is important in this world at the moment with AI. And it is just, we're just having a conversation. Two people. You've told me this about your business. I can give you this insight. And I think as well, you're not always trying to sell a candidate, if you will. I was on the phone the other day to a client and she was She's doing loads of recruitment, but she was telling me that TA have got it. And I was like, perfect. But I still sat on the phone with her for 15 minutes and I just told her everything that I've been seeing recently. And she was there like, oh my God, you're so right. You know, we need someone that can tell the story of the data and be able to bring that alive. And we just went back and forth. And I know she left that conversation feeling really good about the next interview that she would do with a candidate that was from her TA. And if that makes her feel good, then I feel good, you know, and I've added value. It doesn't always need to be money, money, money. You know, it can be, we're just chatting and it will come back around. It's the long game.
100%. I think it's having that focus, right? And I think at times, you know, our industry and certain agencies, right? It's that, like, down to rural commercial businesses, you have to make money, right, to survive. But there's just that pressure of speak to a client, or if they're not hiring, don't speak to them, or, you know, you just have to, almost has to be a monetary value behind every conversation. Whereas yourself, I think it's 100% right. And a lot of the people we've interviewed on this show, they have that mindset of giving before they take.
Yes.
Right? That's what I'm
100%.
trying to say. So give as much as you can. And you know that, hey, whether it's next month, 3 months, or, you know, in 6 months in December, they'll give you a call.
100%.
They're going to have a need and you've built that trust.
Yeah.
So
I remember when I first joined, there was a specific moment that was just like, wow, really? Because my manager had said to me, oh yeah, I just gave them that candidate, freebie. And the person got the role and I was there like, oh, are you not going to charge them? Like, you know, she was like, no, they'll come back around 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And it always does.
Yeah.
And she'll say to me, you know, she's got lots of stories from before I was even there. And someone will come back around and said, hey, you know, you helped me 10 years ago. And now there's a project of work here, 12 jobs, here you go. It all comes back around. And that's just a really nice way of thinking about it. And again, I think for me, and hopefully for a lot of recruiters listening, I think if you take that approach, it really does take the stress out of the recruitment.
Yeah.
It will come. 100% it will come. But you have to also be true to yourself and say, am I truly going to be investing here and live here and be in this market for a long period of time? And if it's no, I don't think boutique is probably for you.
Yeah,
you know?
probably recruitment in
general, because you don't see the fruits of your labor until a couple of years on. So
yeah, it's interesting. Something like, I think a lot of recruiters tend, especially junior ones, think, okay, to add value or to give insights to clients, you know, I need like insights documents, or I need marketing to drum up all this stuff. But I can't remember who it was. Someone said to me recently, basically as recruiters, you're just giving the dirt and giving the goss on what's going on in the market. And it was actually a call I got yesterday. Senior agency leader rang me and I realized they always say this. It's always like, LJ, how are you? I'm like, yeah, good. What's the goss?
yeah,
And I realized it is. It's just like, and they're not necessarily looking for gossip in form of, you know, what's everyone's dirty secrets, but it's what's happening in market, you know, who's doing what, who's hiring, blah, blah, blah. And that's exactly what we are. That's the value. That's the insight.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
it doesn't
how many
have to
people
be.
recruiters speak to, right? Candidates, clients, in whatever sector you're in.
Yeah,
right?
we've
For
got
us,
a lot of shit that
you
we know.
Just speaking from my perspective, right? All I do is speak to recruitment agency owners, managers, and recruitment consultants.
Yeah.
So I should theoretically know what the fuck's going on in the recruitment industry if someone asks me, right? Hey, right? That's kind of your
what's the goss?
101,
Yeah.
right? So I think
so
it's
funny.
as you said, you know, you're connecting those dots. You heard someone say, oh, we're doing this project in a couple of months, or this is coming up. Hey, I spoke to that person. They've just finished their contract. You need to speak to them.
Yeah.
Get them together. Get them having a coffee, and
Exactly. Connect the dots. It's
half the time they'll end up creating a job for themselves, right?
Yes, exactly that. Like they might not have something now, but it is about connecting the dots, and you do have to think a bit deeper. You cannot think surface level. It's like you said, it's all dirt until you make something out of it, really. So yeah, I think you have to, you know, I think people think that recruitment is just like, you know, oh, I just chucked a CV over kind of thing. But it's, you know, you can make it in order to be successful, you do have to think a bit deeper and be able to connect those dots and make it easier on yourself as well, right? You don't have to necessarily do a whole process if you've just introduced someone for a coffee and then 3 weeks later they're like, you know what, I'm going to give them a job. You haven't really done that much apart from connect the dots at the beginning. So,
Something you touched on, like we just mentioned there, was about, you know, playing the long game. And I guess one thing we do see a lot of our guests talk about is the importance of specialization. like, what's your thoughts on that? Like, how specialized are you, and just having that kind of guardrails around a particular space, does that help, do you think, or hinder sometimes?
Yeah, I would argue actually that it's probably different for perm v contracting.
Yeah.
For contracting, again, I go back to the volume of the number of people that I'm speaking to, and therefore I'm pretty good at going quite wide. Like, I do predominantly recruit marketing digital in B2B, but if someone comes along and it's retail and someone's on leave, then I can still probably pull that out of the bag pretty quickly as well. However, I think in a permanent process, for us specifically, we're very process driven in the perm side. Like, there's a lot of steps that we do, and there's lots of extra things that the clients get as a result of doing the perm process. So I would almost say in the permanent side of things, if you do cast the net much wider, then you're kind of constantly battling against that search, if you will. Whereas for me, it's quick. I can sort of do a search in a day, speak to all the people that I already know, and then I've got a short list. Whereas in a perm process, you're really headhunting and it's much slower. And then if you're getting loads of things come in that's competing with what you actually should be recruiting for, I think that can be a bit of a challenge.
Yep.
So I think it probably depends. I would argue on a whole though, like, specializing is important. I think we did do an insights report recently with the retail space. I think we spoke to maybe 250 retail clients, and one of the things that they said they value from their recruiters is, the first thing was specialization in market. If you're recruiting FMCG, you must know FMCG. If you're recruiting professional services, you need to understand how that matrix works with the partners and everything. So that was really important. But the second one was speed. That definitely came up. So yeah, but I think that's the number one, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be able to, in order to have credibility and lead with value and go back to all those things, you do have to know your market. So yeah.
Well, I think once again, ultimately, if someone's coming to a recruitment agency, they're coming for our network.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes we forget that. You've just touched on there, obviously, like, different skill sets and maybe mindset required for perm process versus contract. I think we definitely see with a lot of agencies, people are typically grouped into, they're a perm recruiter or they're a temp and contract recruiter. I tend to look at, for me personally, I've never been a temp recruiter. I couldn't handle it.
I did it once.
I couldn't manage those places.
Oh man, I never had a heart attack.
It's so funny.
I had to take, someone on my team went on leave and they were a contract recruiter and they went on leave for like 3-4 weeks, whatever. Yeah, I'll look over at your desk, make sure everyone gets paid, all that sort of stuff. Man, Tuesday morning, the phone's just ringing. Oh, I haven't done this. And it's just like the stress of that and the compliance that goes with it.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Yeah. That's why you have to have all of your candidates banked, because I'm not going to spend my time sourcing. Sourcing is a massive part of the role, right? I can't be headhunting and having all these new conversations when I've got, Jim's calling me, he hasn't been paid, clients calling me, need to do a work site assessment, someone's fallen. The other day, someone fell over, broke their leg, and like, that's on us.
Yeah.
Do you know? So yeah, there's a lot.
That's the other part of it. It's like stressing me out.
Yeah. It's a lot. There's a lot more compliance around it. And it's actually a lot more maths when you're working out hourly rates, day rates, margins, all of those things. So I'm surprised actually that I've fallen into this space, but also not surprised because I think I am very good at the speed side of things. But in London, I definitely didn't expect that I would be a contract recruiter, because it was the same thing. The contract recruiter was, she's doing loads and so.
Yeah, I always, and look, the one thing I'm jealous or envious of is that, contract recruiters, that ability to build a desk and kind of roll into the next month with some money on the board. Yeah. Perm recruiters like, end of the month, let's go again.
Your biggest ever quarter in your career, and you're like, hey, you're on a donut come 1st of August. So
I did not enjoy that at all. So that's very, I'm just like smiling ear to ear. It's so nice to know that you know what you're going to build for the year, unless something goes drastically wrong, but doubt it with, 15 people, it's not going to actually go drastically wrong. So, it's so nice to not have that, the stress. I think for me, like, a lot of recruitment can be really stressful, and you've got to get rid of that stress. And for me, contracting was one thing, but also, going back to some of the BD and the conversations that you have, like make it value in order to just reduce that high volume stress of it all.
If you could have your time again and start over, would you have started your career, like if you knew what you know now, would you kind of try and be doing that contract stuff sooner or earlier?
Do you know what I did? I did a bit of it at Hayes as well, to be honest. So that was probably where I learned, some of the basic things. Would I have? No, I probably wouldn't. I think I've had a fantastic career so far because I have been able to do hybrid, and hybrid is great because it's like the cherry on top. But I would say that contracting, once you start doing contracting, it's quite hard to go back to perm because you realize like it's quick, like you can have some quick wins and so I probably wouldn't change anything actually.
And look, I think even for us as Rec2Recs, we've got so many clients that are looking for contract recruiters, but anyone who's decent, it's pretty hard to pull them out of that contract desk if they're, doing 30, 40, 50 grand plus whatever a month. Like, why are you going to leave that?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we typically find the contract recruiters leaving, it's got to be for there's got to be a catalyst.
Yeah, pretty significant one too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're obviously a marketing recruiter,
Mm-hmm.
recruiting for B2B and prof services. And I think recruitment agencies would typically potentially fall into that kind of bucket, right?
Yeah.
And I guess we take interest in what recruitment agencies do from a marketing perspective. What do you think, like knowing what you're seeing out in market, how do you see like recruitment marketing going down the track?
Oh,
I know that's probably really left field question.
Yeah, that is random. I mean, I've been really fortunate at 6 Degrees. They did a bit of an overhaul of their marketing, and I've been privy to the rebrand as of late. So that's I guess given me a bit of knowledge. But second to that, I am really close friends with our social media manager, and so she has taught me a lot as well. And I think again, it has to translate what we're doing on the phones and in our meetings needs to be the same on social media. So she spends a lot of time getting around us, understanding what valuable conversations we're having, what do people want to hear, and then she puts that onto our LinkedIn. So it's not like it's not super cringy stuff about, well, I mean, we do a little bit of the culture stuff. I guess that's important as well. But yeah, again, I think it's the value. You have to have value, and it has to be authentic and translate to what your consultants are also saying. It has to match. You can't be having insights reports that are super snazzy and like really smart, and and then your recruiters are like, well, not giving the same insights. So I think it has to be valuable, and it also has to be very consistent. Again, we know LinkedIn and its algorithms. It's a game that we will never understand, but I think it does have to be very consistent. It has to be authentic. A little dabble of personal bits and bobs in there as well, I think is important. But I think 6 Degrees do a fantastic job of marketing actually.
I think outside of looking in, you do. And I think, having that kind of in-house marketing team is a big bonus. I mean, we've both worked for businesses that have had that marketing, support, and it makes a massive difference.
100%.
Maybe like, I think, at a big business like Randstad, a lot of people perhaps didn't see value in it.
Yeah.
But I think once you leave a business where you've got that really strong marketing support and you don't have it, it's like, oh man, I realize what they did now.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I'd argue that the big ones don't invest in it so much, to be honest, or you don't even know them. If you don't know the marketing girl that wants to put you on, or boy, that wants to put you on camera and make a TikTok with you, then if they come up to your desk, you're going to be like, no.
Yeah.
And I think it's, as you said, it's that authenticity piece, right? Yeah. Like there's obviously the corporate, in every business, boutique or, or large corporate, they've obviously got brand guidelines and whatnot. But, a lot of times I think it can come across as just too corporate, too fake, for want of a better term, right? Yeah. And as you said, if you're authentic about it, you're real, that translates to consultants. You're just talking to humans at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Like no one's any special than the other person next to them. They're no different. They're just human beings, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, to go back to the AI thing as well,
Yeah.
just to think about it being fake and, or authentic. A lot of my LinkedIn posts are now obviously aided by AI, but what I've been able to do is just speak into my phone, into the voice memo, and this has just been amazing for me. So I think it's worth sharing. Speak into your phone what your idea is, or maybe the conversation that you've had recently that's potentially sparked you wanting to share something on LinkedIn, and then putting that into your ChatGPT, and hopefully you've got some sort of a folder and it knows you well by this point, and just say, put this into a LinkedIn post in my tone of voice. But it's your original thought, right? And it's all of your insights, it's all of your data that you've actually spoken to, and then it's just it can pop something out that's nice and polished. So
100%.
yeah, it's your voice. I think that's what's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous what you can be doing with AI. Like I was up in Sydney this week, and one of our clients, they're a tech recruiter, and what they've just built in-house just through AI, and I won't mention who they are, but basically you could be having a meeting with your client on the phone, whatever it is. They've got to win the question, basically, what's it called? The templates in the background of this AI thing. You're taking a brief. By the time you get off that phone, they've developed a landing page that talks about the role, talks about the benefits, talks about the leader, talks about fucking everything that's
amazing.
That sell. So then when you've had the role, great, looks all good, you tidy it up. Hey, Hannah, I've got this role. We met last week. Let me just send you this link. You look and you go, well, shit, and it's the same with candidates.
It's a link.
And it's the same with candidates. So I interview as a candidate, and again, there's obviously templates in the background. I don't know how they've done it. I wish I did. And it basically creates almost like a little, not like a CV template like that we said now, but it's almost like a little landing page.
Wow.
Where you can say, hey, these are the cool selling points. This is what they've done. This is their biggest achievement, blah, 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 blah. This is the tech skills that they have.
That's impressive.
But just at the speed that it does it, by 2 minutes off the phone, and
love anything
it's in your
that's
inbox,
got to do
right?
with speed.
So
yeah,
just little things like that. And I think the more and more businesses that, and obviously AI is going to improve over time, right? We're still at the very infancy of it. So, I think the recruiters that will thrive in the future are the ones that just embrace it and adopt it and 100%. Say, you know what, it's another tool now. That art of, the relationship and that trust still got to be there.
Absolutely.
But it's just a tool that we can work faster, that we can reach
100%.
20 people in a week instead of 10 or whatever.
Because you're not bogged down with all the admin. I'm not writing a job advert.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that feels like, it's funny.
I get even, you talking about some of the stuff that you do on your own for your own personal branding. I'm still surprised at how many recruitment agencies don't invest in or have in-house marketing teams, because I think, you think about it from our perspective, agencies are always looking for people that can, generate do BD, generate leads and so forth. That's, I guess, the purpose of marketing is to help that.
Fill the pipeline.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, sure, you can go and hire 3 BD gun, 360 recruiters. They're hard enough to find as it is, but I just feel like there's probably some merit in investing more in in-house marketing to help do that.
Also, the point in what you said there, they're hard to find, which actually they're hard to find for one, but if they're actually hard to find online, I don't trust you. Who are you?
Yeah.
You have no online presence. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think we did loads of training as part of the rebrand, and sales training as well. The buying journey starts so much earlier now. People get a phone call from you instantly. They connect with me on LinkedIn. They've had a look at who I am.
Yeah.
It's all there. They can see my recent posts. Maybe I went on holiday to Canada. They've seen that. It's, they're buying from you much earlier. So if you're not visible online, you're kind of putting yourself on the back foot there massively. Time. So it's so
big
important.
Time. Yeah, and you probably have it. And I mean, being in marketing recruitment as well, like so many of our candidates, will come back to me and say, oh, hey, I had a look at XYZ company online. And I'm not talking about reviews. I'm just talking about online presence. And they're like, not sure they're the agency for me. And, we all know you can't judge a book by its cover, but reality is we do.
Absolutely.
In the modern age. So
this is really funny. I had a role recently with a B2B industrial business out in the sticks, and sent over all the details to the candidate, and she came back to me. She went, yeah, I'm really interested. And I was like, great. I could just sense an extra bit of enthusiasm in her voice. And she said, yeah, I had a look at their Facebook page. loved the pictures with Santa, and it just cracked me up. So I went on it, and they were posting all of these really silly pictures, and it just spoke to their culture. And so ever since she said that, I've always now said, like, look at their website, look at their LinkedIn, look at their Facebook if they have one, you know, look at their socials, because it will build a picture.
Oh, we do the same as well. You know, when we say, hey, don't just, you're going to go on the website, right? And what's everyone going to say? Oh, we're the best agency in Australia. Like, you know, it's not a real big selling point.
Boring.
But get into the LinkedIn, have a look at the people at work there, get into their Insta or TikTok if they've got or whatever. And that actually gives you the authenticity, right? And as you said, hey, this is what it's actually like working here. That's what these people are like. They're pretty down to earth. They seem like my people. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
On the reverse of that, I don't want to work there because, and that's cool. At least you've saved yourself that time, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
So important. Yeah, to circle back to that point right at the beginning, social media roles have been so popular for us. And that's exactly why. You know, it's so important. It's the first moment with your brand, you know?
Yeah, good. All right, final question for you.
Okay.
Very thought-provoking. Hopefully hopefully we don't catch you too off guard with this one, but you should be all right. What tips would you have, or advice, I should say, what advice would you have for a recruiter maybe 2 or 3 years into their career? They're thinking about their next step. Maybe they're thinking about moving to Australia. You've done all that already. What advice would you give?
Well, first of all, have a conversation with Lee and Chris. Come on.
Yes.
We'll give not even prompted.
We'll give you the $100 later. Don't worry.
But, I mean, if you're thinking about it from the UK, like, just don't even think. Jump in head first, like, let's go. It's such I don't want to say an easier market, but, like, you will feel it's not as stressful. You will build, like, give it a go. And obviously, why not come to Australia and have that life experience? If you are in Australia and you're in a big agency right now and maybe thinking about what is the boutique life all about, I think have an honest conversation with yourself. Are you ready to be humbled, leave your ego at the door, and, you know, learn from people that are probably significantly better than you and not feel like you're coming in and you're the big dog? But yeah, do research on the agencies as well, right? Like, I think know what you're really looking for. For me, I wanted to be around $1 million billers. I wanted to be led by someone that was very strategic and well known in market, and that's exactly what I got. So I think you just have to say to yourself, like, what is it that I'm not enjoying about this role right now, and what am I really craving? And then, you know, make the next move, make an informed decision from there.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Hannah, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you on. You've given us some awesome insights there for our listeners. I know you've had a great start to the year so far, and you're on track for a massive one.
Yes.
So we wish you all the best, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for coming on.